And that is why when we have these experiences of our intentions, the karma is paid off in several different ways. Supposing we are very clever and we wake up and say, leave the karma back in the dream state. Karma does not leave us. It comes up in the astral state. It comes only to pay off, not to create. This payoff can take a long time, depending on how much karma we have. When we come across a perfect living master, and I must tell you, my definition of perfect living master is not any teacher, any master who can tell us things, but only one who has experienced totality and can, in a human being, know everything up to totality at all times, even as a human being. If that is not so, not a perfect living master. Master, all right. Guru, all right. But not a perfect master. Perfection comes with totality, not with lack of totality. Imperfection is lack of knowledge, full knowledge. That is why the perfection is there. When we say the person, perfect living master comes to awake us, from which level he wakes us? From the top. What is his first action to make us wake up to the highest level fast? First action, cut out that huge reservoir of karma that we are carrying. So when we talk of karma, we say that with which we are born is pralabdha or destiny. That which we create is kariman or acquired karma. And that which cannot be paid off with a reservoir we call sinchit karma. When such a friend appearing in a physical body with knowledge of totality comes and says, come friend, we are going home. What he's really saying is, your sinchit karma is gone. Otherwise journey is too long. It's a very big change. One of the biggest changes that take place, we can't see it here. You can see it higher up. The biggest change that takes place is when a perfect living master accepts us as a friend. Sinchit karma, reserve karma is gone. Erased at that very moment. Some people have said, what is initiation then? If he initiates such a thing, big thing can happen. What is initiation? There is a guy sitting in India telling my friends, your masters know nothing about initiation. They are telling you to repeat these 5 words and they call it initiation. That guy has no knowledge whatsoever of the teachings of great master at all. He has no knowledge of what initiation means. Initiation is not repetition of any mantra whatsoever. If reading of some mantras was the whole thing, we could all become perfect masters and tell everybody repeat these words. Repetition of words of physical activity here, it can't be taking you anywhere. It's only a useful thing, very limited use in meditation in order to prevent the mind from thinking too many things. You make the mind repeat the words. Don't give him enough scope to think of other things. Very simple mechanical device. Mantra is only that. The holier you make it, the more easy to put attention on it. More easy to prevent the mind from scattering itself all over. It's just a method of meditation. It's not initiation at all. Initiation means when a perfect living master initiates, he says, we go back to totality. Period. Guaranteed. No question. That's a very big difference from just teaching somebody meditation. That the awakened person has found the time for you, based on your programming, to wake up to the highest state. A perfect living master, when he initiates a person, he makes sure that that person, individual, will achieve the same totality which he has got in his physical body. Guaranteed. It may take time, because we are sitting in time. He is appearing in time. He is appearing as an event in our life. So all the laws of events happen. Can we recognize such a person? There are today so many masters all around. Somebody did a research that how many masters are saying that they are follow-up from great master Baba Sawant Singh. 500. That's plenty, a good number from one single master. And just in a few hundred, less than 100 years, 500 masters appeared. Great master used to say, in India, masters are growing so fast, today there are more masters and fewer disciples. The gurus are growing. It's a very good business. You can make a lot of money out of it. People are tired of life. They're looking for some respite somewhere. So that is why it's very difficult to know who is a guru. In our life, we come across so many masters. And then we go to a master and we say, we hear him, we beat him, but nothing happens. Maybe he is not a true master like I was thinking we should have. But I've got initiated by him now. I am bound now. I will be very unfaithful to try anybody else now. Almost equating the relationship disciple and master to that of a husband and wife. That is very unfaithful and deserving of punishment. We get stuck. But some say we should go move forward and find who is the real one. And they move, carrying some guilt sometimes, sometimes overcoming guilt by rationalizations or by some friend supporting. How do we know when to stop this search for masters? We don't know how to stop the search because there is no way we can recognize a perfect living master. If a master is wearing special garbs, creating a special situation where you should come and see who he is, then he's showing off something at a physical level that is not perfect living master. We want a perfect living master to show something inside us, where the truth lies. What is inside us which can be most convincing and can overcome even the mind's doubt. If you look at life and see what exists in this life, which can overcome your doubt, overcome your questioning, one thing, love, experience of love. When you have experience of love, love pulls you. You don't push. For everything else you push. Everything else you have to search. Love pulls. You can't help it. When you are in love, your mind for the first time, your ego for the first time takes a back seat. Otherwise, always in front. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. In love, the beloved comes in front and I is forgotten. We have this experience right here. What do perfect living masters do? They create an experience in us of a certain kind of strange pull, which feels like we want to see them again. We want to look at them. Why? There's something there. Mind says, why? Waste your time. Why? Mind creates all doubts and we still want to go. This pull of love which comes from a perfect living master overrides our doubts, overrides our thinking. Love is the answer. People say the whole spiritual path is love and devotion. Love and devotion, why they say use two words, love pulls. Our response to that is devotion, automatically. That kind of love which comes from a perfect living master makes us automatic devotees. It's not practice. How do I learn how to be devoted? The pull makes you devoted. It's automatic, it comes. Therefore, I would say, we don't have too many signs by which we can really judge if an individual that we are meeting, even if he is having a pull, is a perfect living master or not. But one thing is certain, the love of that master will be unconditional, completely, no judgment. The love will not be based on our karma. Love will not be based on whether we are good or bad. Love will not be based upon what we are doing in this life. Love will be based on our seeking inside. How does a perfect living master look at us and we look at our sins and we say, I am such a bad person, how is he going to give me anything? He is not looking at the bad things or good things, he says the good and bad things are trapping you and he tries to take you out of the trap. That is why the love is filled with an immediate and amazing compassion for everybody. Very few people, even in the world, you can find. I have met people giving lectures when I was very young. One guy came to the Dera and he was talking of I am reaching Parabrahma and Sachkhand. He was describing like it's a journey through stages and he's flying up there. So I knew that it is all talk. Even at a young age I could feel it just talk. And he was talking to a group of people. So I had a safety pin. I used to keep a safety pin attached to my handkerchief. I opened it up and I quickly went and poked it. He shouted, got so angry. So I could run faster than him, I knew. He chased me. All I remember saying, where are the 5 boys? In those days we used to say that the 5 vices, anger and lust, and these are called 5 boys. I just shouted that back at him. You can provoke such a person with a simple pin. Try to provoke a perfect living master. No provocation ever works with him. No provocation. If it makes him angry, react, not a perfect living master. So the uniqueness of a perfect living master is the unconditional love you will experience. You may not notice it the day 1, you may notice on day 2, but you will notice. The more you associate with a person like him, how can he always be calm? Never rustled by anything. How can he always be loving? Never saying anything against anybody. Why? How is it possible? It's possible. It's possible with perfect living masters. There are other things also. Perfect living masters never declare we are masters. If they want to declare they are masters, then they try to show off again. They never declare. Perfect living masters never say we are masters. They just come to say we have come to serve people. So, but secretly, they have already attained what we all want to attain as spiritual seekers. So that is why this is a very big sign. They won't perform public miracles to show what we can do. They won't do levitation and so we can do things against the laws of nature. They will live as naturally as possible, as much like us as possible, and be as ordinary as possible, not extraordinary. Those who are not perfectly master want to show they are extraordinary. The perfectly master want to show they are ordinary. Why? They want to make us friends of theirs, not disciples, friends. Friendship is between ordinary people, not extraordinary people. And ordinary people cannot be a friend of an extraordinary person. He can be adoring the extraordinary person. He can be worshipping him. He can do anything. Not friend. Friendship is with ordinary people who become like us. I sometimes give example. If a master were to come into this hall and comes flying in the sky, you will all start looking there. You won't even listen to me. So much impact it will have on you. Just by the power of levitation. What will your mind be thinking at that time? Some of you will think there must be some wire attached. It's just a trick. There is no magic. Nobody can fly high. So there is some trick involved. And like magicians do, they fly also in the stage. This guy is flying like that. Some will say, amazing, this is real levitation. Some may get so freaked out and may even faint to see that. Nobody will love that master, not even one person. Supposing while he's doing that trick of flying, he falls down here. I know all these people sitting will run to help him. And first time, a little love and compassion will come in our hearts. Don't forget, this friendship, the love that comes with friendship, comes between ordinaries. Therefore, masters are perfectly masters, as ordinary as you can assume. If they are so ordinary, it becomes more difficult to recognize them. You cannot recognize them. But the beauty is, we cannot recognize them, they can recognize us. They can see our seeking without our speaking. They appear in our life when we are ready. They appear automatically. They appear in strange coincidences. They create circumstances and they appear. And our mind is still figuring out how they appeared. The mind can't even understand how these coincidences happened, that they appeared in our life. They impress us with something that we can't explain too well with our minds. Over time we realize they are the masters, perfectly masters. So, thank God, we can't find them, they can find us. All we need to do is to seek them inside, not outside. Sit at the third eye center inside, seek, Master will appear in your life. I've heard this story over and over again all over the world. Seek inside, Master appears by coincidence. Thank you very much for joining me again, and we meet again next month.